I'm back, baby, and back with a new product. My best and most extensive yet. An archive of 8 of Valve's Source Engine games with their models, materials, and maps all ported to Blender in the highest quality possible. Now, when I tell you that there's more than 45,000 models, 45,000 materials, and 550 maps, there's probably a lot of questions running through your head. So, let me give you the rundown. Here's what's included. Quite a lot, I know. But if you love the Source Engine aesthetic, if I may, the golden era of video games, this is for you. Now, I imagine you're wanting to learn more about actually using this, so let's move on to the installation. You can find the list of games to download in the description under the documentation that I wrote. You can start by going anywhere on a drive and reserving a folder for the games you plan to download. Let's do Left 4 Dead 2 as an example. Open the download link, download all, and wait for it to finish. Now, whether you download the entire thing all at once or in pieces, you need to know that some of the files depend on each other. And the only way they know where they are is if they're in the same folder. So just keep the folder structure, don't move anything. If you plan to download the entire thing at once, then great. But chances are it's going to plop out in a split.zip file. Not a big deal at all. Just select all the zip files, right-click, and extract them all. Alright, nice. Select them all, right-click, show more options, extract here with WinRAR. Very nice. Okay, we can remove the zip files and clean up the download just a little bit. All of this. You don't have to keep debug, you can remove that if you want. Once it is ready, you can go to Blender, Edit, Preferences, File Paths, Asset Libraries. Click on the plus to add a new asset library, and go to the folder you just downloaded. Say Preferences, and we will now go to the asset library. Asset Browser. It's going to load everything, and here we go. Switch over to Material Preview. Let's just drop assets into the scene. Got a nice drawer, a dresser, fireplace. Ooh, it's got a piano. Plants. It's a lot of plants. Oh, even the zombies have their infected shader set up, meaning they do have variation. Dress, shirt, jeans. Look at that. That's all just one shader, by the way. Just like that, you have access to Left 4 Dead 2's entire asset library. Not just the models, but also the materials. Pretty cool. Okay. Now that that is out of the way, let's move on to something a little more exciting. The maps! Did I mention that I ported them in the highest quality possible? Or that I could manage, at least. Source Engine style ropes, accurate ambient lighting, and ray tracing. Correct prop skins. It's got it all! Somewhat. There's a lot to talk about. Obviously, bringing assets into software they weren't meant for is going to cause some problems. So I'm going to call this next part the tips and tricks. Stuff that can guide your way through using the maps. Yeah, so I wrote a bunch of tools to help you use the maps. The map extras. You can think of proximity lights as a light manager tool. It will disable lights too far away from the camera based on a distance that you input. Now this feature is really more useful for Blender's Eevee Legacy renderer because in simple terms, it only has space for 127 lights. Anything past that will not be rendered, which is the exact reason why we can't see any sun in this scene and why it's so laggy. As soon as I hit Initialize Proximity Lights geometry nodes, it's like magic. Now the lights are being spat out of this object, which is instancing the lights and hiding or showing them based on the distance between them and the camera. You can change the distance by selecting this object and going to the Modifier tab, and changing max distance to whatever you want. You can see that as I get close to the light, it hides and shows. Hides. Let's go to the ones in here. They turn on when the camera gets close to them. The entire point of proximity lights. Enabling camera frustum will hide the lights if they are outside of the camera's view plane. If I shift the camera's view towards this way, they hide. Shift it back a little, they show. Hide, show. Using light culling will make sure that the amount of shown lights will never exceed a specific number. Now, it is worth noting that while proximity lights is in its optimized state, you cannot make any changes to the lights whatsoever until you swap back to its original state. So I'm going to swap back, all the lights are showing, and now we can make changes however we see fit. Let's change the light's color to red, increase the strength. And this one, let's say we don't want proximity lights to touch it at all. So we're going to move it out of the lights collection to any other collection and swap back. The light is now red, and no matter how far away we get from the selected light, it will never turn off because it is no longer part of the optimizer's collection to search through. If you swap back to the unoptimized state in rendered view, be prepared for a massive lag spike. The Source Engine has a really neat way of rendering cheap fog, and that's by using the distance between the camera and the geometry to mix between two solid colors. That has been implemented as a shader, so all you have to do is raise the fog strength, set the start and ending ranges of the fog, and set the start and end colors of the fog. That actually looks kind of cool. If a material does not already have this fog effect applied to it, you can try to click on Finalize Fog and see if that fixes your problem. In this case, it does. By the way, I have kept the fog controller entities, so if you want a reference for how to color the fog, you can select one of the fog controller entities, go to the Fog Properties tool, and hit Apply Fog Colors. Look at that. Overlays are the little decals you see on a map, just there for detail. But sometimes they are too close to other geometry and they cause nasty artifacts called Z-fighting. There are two things you can do, which is to set the minimum and maximum offset range for the overlays, you know, just in case they're overlapping each other, and click on Offset Overlays. Okay, that's better. The second thing you can do is to increase the clipping start in both the camera and the viewport, which should help a lot. There's a bunch of useless materials that can cause visual issues in a scene, so it's generally a good idea to delete them. These materials can be Tools No Draw, Invisible Ladder, this one, and Tools Black. That's the wrong field. Tools Black. I'm sure that got deleted somewhere. You can help yourself find a material to delete by selecting its face in edit mode. The material will become highlighted based on which face you select, and we can see that we want to delete Stonewall 051A. 051A. And it's gone. Look at that. Some models have swappable body groups. If left untreated, these body groups can stack on top of each other and cause the model to appear not how it should. To fix this, you can use the Fix Body Groups button, and that should apply a fix to all the models that have swappable body groups. You can set the active body groups in the Modifiers tab, but keep in mind that they are labeled with numbers instead of words, so you'll have to go through trial and error to get it to look how you want. Pretty cool. If any animations were able to be imported along with a model, you can view and apply them through the Linked Actions tool. Applying them will add NLA strips to the armature, which you can edit later. I've selected something called Badwater Destruction Part 2, and we can see two animations were able to be imported, Boom and Idle. So if I click Boom, select the armature, we can see that we added an animation sequence. If we select the rest of them, now, if I play the sequence... Whoa, yeah, baby, that's cool. The skyboxes are always separated from the maps, but don't worry, because getting them in place is no headache. Look for an empty object labeled Sky Camera, right here. Select the mesh surrounding this empty object using Box Select, B. But if by chance you have selected the world mesh, you'll have to go into edit mode and separate the part that is supposed to be the skybox, which is this little area. Make sure you have X-ray enabled to make selecting easier. So I'm going to box select this part, press P to separate, and separate selection. Then I can select the empty, box select the surrounding mesh, then go to Object and click on Transform VMF 3D Sky. Then the skybox gets set in place. How nice. Oh, that's just a wallpaper right there. You can hide the empty to get rid of the relationship lines for a cleaner view. If you work with the maps long enough, you'll eventually find that the performance is pretty poor, which is completely expected. I mean, there's a lot of objects, a lot of detail, it's hard for Blender to keep up. I mean, look at that, I'm not even hitting a full 24 frames per second. I find that it helps to get rid of parts of the map you won't ever see in your final render. So I'll start by selecting the world mesh, go into edit mode, enabling X-ray, and I'll start by selecting half the map and deleting. Do the same with the skybox, and then finally with the objects. Look at that! Full 24 frames per second. To take it a step further, you can go to the outliner and set the display mode to orphan data, then purge all the unused data blocks. Then you can save it and reload the file. It could help with performance. Editing linked assets is really easy, but a little bit unorthodox. There's two ways to go about it, which is permanently and temporarily. On any linked material or model, you'll find a tab labeled Linked Properties. Clicking Open Linked Library will open the blend file of the asset you wish to modify. Let's add a plane, set the data to street, lamp leg, and let's move its vertices 1 meter to the right. Save it, go back, and then shift-click on Open Linked Library to apply the changes. Look at that. Let's undo it. Nice. If you make a change that you feel is for the greater good, you can submit it, and I might upload your patch. However, for a temporary fix, all you have to do is click on the chain icon to make a local copy of an asset. Now I can go to edit mode and edit its mesh. If you are unable to localize a linked material, that is because the mesh that is using that material has not been localized yet. So go up its tree of users, make a local copy of them first, and then you can make a local copy of the material. Now we can edit the material's properties and make it look awful. Some skybox textures can appear dark and miscolored, which sucks because this looks horrible. The fix is very easy. All you have to do is add a gamma node, set the gamma to something like 0.2, and increase the brightness to whatever feels right. That looks way better. Did you know that when baking ambient lighting, the source engine actually uses ray tracing, or global illumination? That right there is a luxury only the Cycles renderer has, which means when we switch to Eevee, oh, it makes me sick. It's disgusting. If you want to use Eevee, there are two things you can do. Use irradiance volumes and cube maps, and adjust the world shader to whatever feels right in that current location. For the sake of saving time, I already have a color picked out for the ambience, and an irradiance volume and a cube map all set up. Actually, you know what? Let's darken this. And yeah, like that. Now I can go to indirect lighting and bake it. And if we go back to the rendered view, that looks not that bad. How does it look compared to Cycles? That's not that bad. Yeah, that's really not that bad. Now, I know it looks like I did all of that on one try, but I did not. It took me like 15 minutes to find the right dimensions for the irradiance volume and the cube map. I fiddled with the intensity, the resolution, the radius of the cube map, and I had to do a lot of bakes to get it right. It's going to take a lot of trial and error, so if you don't get it right the first time, don't worry. Neither did I. I believe I have covered everything there is to cover. Depending on how late you watch this video, there's a slight chance that it could be outdated. So I entirely recommend you read the documentation in the description, just in case. In there, I have recorded my porting process, which I promise you, it was not as simple as drag and drop. I did a whole lot of stuff. And I released the porting tools that I wrote, along with a small guide, should you ever want to make something like this. If you'd like to donate to this project, that would be greatly appreciated. It'll go to keeping my Google Drive up, and possibly expanding it, for when I want to make more ports. It may go to various other things. Thank you for watching to the end of the video, and I really hope you like this new project of mine. I hope it's everything you want. All the download links are under the documentation in the description. Yeah, that'll be it. Have a good night, day, evening, whatever. Take care.